Good morning. Good morning.
Good
What up?
morning.
Happy Monday.
Another
Happy
beautiful day.
Monday.
It's the best day of the week, according to Michael Golden.
Always is, always will be. And it's a holiday, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know,
happy
unless
day
it's
off, everybody.
happy Labor Day. Unless it's a big 5, I usually don't take it off. So I usually
We
stick
have to
to
talk
that.
about that work-life balance, Will.
Yeah. Hey, I take the big 5 off. That's all that matters. That's the important ones. It's just a normal Monday here on Good Morning Hospitality. Awesome. Well, Brandy, we're so excited to see you again.
Yeah, I'm
It's
so
not the
happy to
same
be
without
back.
you. Yeah, it's just not the same. You and Jamie just add that slice of flair to the show that we need.
Well,
It's,
maybe I'll sneak in another episode during the month.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take
a
it.
guest. Love it.
A guest. Awesome. Well, what did we cover last week? I'm actually kind of drawing a blank because it's been a crazy week. Oh yeah, we covered I was at a conference, all the other crap that
6
went
or
with
7
that.
topics, a lot of M&A,
Yep.
some acquisitions, some fundraisers. Money's out there if you have a sound business.
Amen.
VCs are sitting on more dry powder now than ever in history, like $500 billion in cash. So if you have a sound business, you can go get it.
There we go. That's a good summary. Good summary. Yeah, it's just been a crazy week. So excited to jump in because we're going to cover a couple topics based around I don't know, I think we've covered it in the last few weeks a few times just because of the articles we've seen, but this whole co-living movement where we're seeing shift and happen. And then a couple things with Google. And then, of course, we're going to put Brandy on the spot to talk about some Airbnb changes with enterprise clients. So, lots to look forward to in this episode. If you're listening or driving or watching us live, just a couple heads up and a couple shout outs. If you want to be mentioned in episodes in the future, you can text us on our texting line 720-807-3367. We'll feature your questions and comments on the show. And then also one shout out to our most frequent listener, Carl Travis, who's always posting our episodes, plus episodes in the Hospitality FM sphere that he listens to throughout the shows. So why don't you just give those couple shout outs before we jumped in, because we got to do the plug. Michael, how about you take it away? Let's jump in on the big topic at hand. Co-living. What's going on? What's happening? Co-living.
This has been a buzzword for at least 5 years. There's a big splash and then it kind of fades away, and then another big splash and it kind of fades away. Pre-show, we were kind of talking about how cool it is in concept to be able to travel wherever, stay for a couple months, have roommates, split costs. But in reality, you're paying, in some cases, more money than just getting your own place. So it's really for those that have the financial ability to pay a little bit more for a fully furnished unit, walking in with roommates, and the flexibility of living, kind of being able to pick up your bags and move from place to place. There's just not, in my mind, that's not the mass market. It sounds great, but you're really threading the needle there between a young professional who might not have $1,500, $2,000 a month to spend on a room, with someone who's older that has a little more financial security and might purchase their own condo or house. If I was 25 with, making good money and able to work from wherever, it's a really cool concept. I like it. But how many people are in that position?
Yeah. Well, and Brandy and I both were on the same page of it's great to be able to go travel. I'm moving into this is the last time you'll see this type of setup for me on the live studio, but moving into this place where there is co-living as an option is not as affordable as a lot of people would think. Like for a 3-bedroom, if you're getting 3 bedrooms, and then you're sharing a kitchen, living room space. You're paying $1,200 plus for that 1 bedroom and shared space. It's not like you get your own sectioned off area. Um, and so for I don't know, I just think 1,200 for that, especially with strangers, right? Like if you're co-living, no one I don't think any of these companies have perfected like a matchmaking service, right? Where it's like, how do you give you a good roommate? Because that's my biggest fear. If I were to move into a co-work or co-living space, I would be partnered up with some weirdo or some like super neat freak. And on my days I'm being lazy, I'm gonna get, you know, the finger pointed at me all day long of you need to go do your freaking whatever, or like whatever. That's not an enjoyable
Whatever.
living situation.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever the
Whatever.
freaking whatever the day or whatever,
Yeah, you need
happening.
like a massive questionnaire and personality matches,
Seriously.
sleeping habits, like, this
Lifestyle.
they're loud,
And
they're
assuming
quiet.
people don't lie.
Yeah,
Like
seriously.
when we were like 5 years ago, one of my roommates left, and our condition was like he had to go and find us like a candidate pool of people to interview. And we interviewed several different people, like what their, actually brought them in, looked at their resumes, like talked about their lifestyles, what they're, all of that. And then ended up choosing a roommate who we've now lived with for 5 years. But like you're not going to get that in this kind of building. You're just going to get matched. And so, I mean, I think, Michael, you're right. It's definitely for a very particular type of person. And I think it sounds great in theory when you have all these community things and events and there's a keg. And like, I just don't
Yeah.
know how appealing that is in your day-to-day life. Like when you're working your normal job and living in your normal life.
Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, I'd rather live in a building that allowed me to drop my keys off at the front desk if I was going to be gone for a month and make my rent back or maybe more. And there's buildings that are out there. So I think, back to Airbnb, I think, they've got a better solution than some of the co-living concepts, because the reality is people have stuff, and I've lived out of a suitcase for 6+ months, multiple times in my life, and it's tiresome. You wear a lot of the same stuff over and over again, but it's nice to have, a place to go that's home and that has a wall of books in the background. Or
moving this will be a real pain.
Yeah, exactly. So that's stuff you can't just like pick up and go with all the time, every month, every few months. So I think the best solution, if you're a digital nomad, is to sign a lease in a building that allows you to short-term rent and leave your keys at the front desk when you want to be gone for a month, 2 months, 6 months.
And I think there's also obviously like I'm assuming short for communal, but like real communal living is like you all work together to take care of the house or the compound or, wherever it is that you are living. And that has a much more like, I think, grounded, theme to it, but it's usually like families and things like that. And this is just kind of, urban yuppie living. For lack of better words. And I'm sure that there are people that really like it, but I mean, you're just seeing building after building going up around the States and in Europe. And it's like, do you really have that many people, or are these just going to be normal apartments that people are living in?
Yeah. Digital nomads don't often go to New York City. They go to Puerto Rico or to the Azores, right? Like they're going to exotic, remote, cheap places, not spending $2,000 a month on an extra room.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, in theory, it's a cool concept, especially if you're moving to a new city, you don't know anybody, pop in, get some roommates. But if you don't even get to kind of meet your roommates beforehand and you just get assigned to room 6
show up.
Like, hey, it could work out, right? It's all a personality fit.
Yeah.
Some people can get along with everybody. Some people can't get along with anybody. And I'm afraid those are the two kind of profiles that would be using co-living.
Yeah, all this kind of reminds me when I was in college, the sharing economy was kind of the buzzword that was going around, and that whole concept that we would just create this circular economy where you would just rent things. And I mean, that was how Airbnb was pitched originally, and that was the plan. I did a whole thesis on how Airbnb was going to like revolutionize the sharing economy. Didn't pan out exactly like that. But I think it's kind of the same concept where you have this, I mean, really nice sounding theory about how we can build more community ties and you can find a place even if you're new or if you're traveling. But just how that actually pans out.
Have you guys seen the WeWork documentary on the We Live section? So
could you imagine?
Yeah, but they loved it. They loved the We Live concept. And it was more communal, right? You'd have your own room, but then it'd be just, there's 20 rooms and then a massive communal space. There's some companies, there's one called Outsite, shout out Emmanuel, that has some in like Puerto Rico and in Costa Rica and lesser expensive parts of the world where they're getting a big mansion, renting out rooms, and you just all kind of more of a true communal feel than literally just rebranding the word roommate with co-living.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they aren't all the same, but the ones that are raising the insane mass amounts of money are more like roommate farms than
roommate mills.
Roommate mills than travel companies.
And do you see the term like disruption going along with some of these articles? And it's like, roommates are not revolutionary. Like just,
it's revolutionary to charge a premium to be assigned a roommate. That is revolutionary.
That is, yeah.
This is the first time in history where they're making an arm and a leg based on not matching people to live together. So
not having privacy.
Yeah. See, that's what I was going to say is like, I'm willing, like the reason why I picked the building I'm moving to is because the amenities, right? Like I have that option to go work out in this huge gym, to have a restaurant, a co-working space, like all this other stuff. But I'm living in my own apartment where I can have my quiet and like I get my energy from social interaction, but I definitely need my time away. So I don't think I could actually do a co-living, roommate farm or mill type scenario, because at the end of the day, I think people, whether you're extrovert or introvert, you're gonna need that time away. And if you never get that, you're more or less gonna be depleted of all of your energy than you would in any other scenario. So
I mean, you can always go into your room, to be fair.
Yeah, a tiny little room just to sit there on your bed and be like, wow, I really am getting so much rest right now.
Talk to the 10 million people in New York City during COVID, right? Like,
that's a whole nother breed.
Locked in for a year.
That's a whole different breed of living. I can never do it. Yeah.
So we've mentioned Airbnb a few times, Brandy. We got an interesting email this week, and I say we.
Brandy.
A lot of professional managers across the country got this email. Will you elaborate a little bit and maybe what it means to you guys and likely our listeners?
Yeah. And it was funny when I sent you guys this text a couple days ago, like I was just like literally in my chair, just having a conniption. But there a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago, something like that, they changed from you having your own like account rep for it as an enterprise client to you had a rep, but you would email like a general email and it would go to their inbox. But the same person, the same guy has been emailing me back. I've been able to like organize calls with him. It really hasn't been that big of a change. And then I got this email that now all requests have to go in through a form. And it says like on the top, it's like for enterprise clients. And it's essentially a Google form. I mean, obviously it's done through whatever software they're doing, but then you can select like the topic and then it says it will be answered within 2 to 3 business days. And I was like, I
have a guest checking in right now.
Just
wait 2 or 3 business days. We'll solve it.
100 of our listings just went offline and we can't figure out why. And so I immediately replied back to the email, sent in a form, and my account manager was like, "Don't worry, like it doesn't really take that long." And it's not his fault. And none of
Yeah.
obviously he's not the
Yeah.
one making any of these changes. But to me, it's across all the OTAs, regardless of size, we have an account manager, especially when you're our size, and the amount of revenue that we do each month through Airbnb. And I know that people that listen to this, some people are maybe doing more than Sexton is and maybe significantly less, but we're bringing in a pretty decent chunk. And so are a lot of other managers like us. So to not have a point of contact that you can reliably communicate with it's just such a downgrade in the type of service. And so, and there are some issues that really do, like, I want to be able to put in, like, this is urgent, 200 of our listings in New Orleans just went down and we can't figure out why. Like, I want your response immediately. Or there's a serious guest issue that really, and I understand they're maybe trying to like streamline the process, but it feels like, as time goes on, the guests are getting more things that improve the guest experience, which is great. I use Airbnb as a traveler. That's awesome. But then, like, in opposition to that, all of the things provided to hosts just keep getting either worse quality, or things are being taken away, or it's becoming more difficult. So I really don't want to have this kind of like emotion towards Airbnb, but it feels like we're just getting like hit from all sides. And especially when you look at a revenue perspective, I mean, nothing's going to push people to try to take their money someplace else than to continue to downgrade the quality of service that you're getting. It's like, why am I paying you all these commission fees if I can't even send an email to an account rep?
Yeah. Compare that. I know a lot of people rely purely on Airbnb. So you guys are on Vrbo, right?
We're on Vrbo. We're on pretty much every platform.
Compare the experience between Airbnb and Vrbo.
Yeah, so there was definitely a change when Expedia bought Vrbo / HomeAway, and it was kind of rocky, but which is understandable during that kind of transition. But we have an Expedia and Vrbo rep; they're two separate people, and very responsive. If our Vrbo rep is getting married, congratulations, Erin. And so she like in her email, there's like all the people that you can contact, and you will get a response. And so same with booking.com. Like, we really rarely, and to be fair, like, we really rarely have to contact our account managers. It's only if something is like really going wrong. And that's when you don't want to wait 2 or 3 days for a response. It's like, this really needs your attention now. And so, yeah, definitely, I would say all the other OTAs, we have one point of contact, and then if that ever changes, there's a handover. It's done. There's a little bit more personal feel. It feels like a little bit more respectful given the amount of money that we're bringing in.
I wanted to go ahead.
So Airbnb is a two-sided marketplace, right? So it's very obvious they treat the host significantly better than the property owner, manager, whatever. Sorry, they treat the guest better than the host, right?
Yeah, there we go.
How you guys more or less are a two-sided marketplace too, right? You have buildings that are your clients, and you also have guests that are clients. How do you guys treat the buildings? Would you ever imagine sending them to a form and
my God, no.
To us here?
So this is our owner relation management is similar but different than maybe obviously traditional VRs. Like, we're not dealing with all these individual homeowners, but you're dealing with bigger landlords, which sometimes it's even more difficult. You're having, some of them don't care. It's like, send me a wire once a month. Some of them want to go through like every single charge. So yeah, but we have an owner relations team that makes sure that, whatever level of communication or handholding or lack of handholding that our landlords want, that's what they're getting. And our guests, I mean, we try to be, we're available 24/7. We're obviously very available to our guests. We're trying to treat everybody in our ecosystem well, because that is a reflection of our business. And if if we're rude, or, if we're not good partners to our landlords, then maybe they don't renew our lease, or maybe, if something, the relationship breaks down. So.
Yeah. When you've got a two-sided marketplace, booking.com ran into this, right? They've got the largest hospitality brand in the world. Airbnb is huge in America, but Booking's bigger in Europe and really the rest of the world. But Booking didn't do homes in the US very well. They had a lot of fraud. They had a lot of
Still do.
payment issues. Yeah. And people delist as a result of that. And when people delist, there's less options. When there's less options, there's less travelers. And it's just this spiral that it's hard to pull yourself out of. Airbnb seems like they might be heading towards this. Like every decision they make is so one-sided that the hosts, property managers just feel slighted. And at some point, hosts are going to start pulling off or blocking their calendars, sending them elsewhere.
I was going to say it's definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just like the sorry, I'm on like a real tear. I think part of the thing that they're coming up against is that some people are having these really negative experiences with hosts that aren't professional or maybe aren't, just aren't good hosts. And there certainly are. There's, thousands and thousands of hosts. So, but if you start to treat the people who are contributing huge blocks of your inventory, if you start treating them poorly and they're like, okay, let's make sure that let's really work on direct booking, or let's put more, let's put every OTA possible, put our inventory everywhere, then you're going to have more of the bad quality hosts taking up more of the space. Right. And then the problems are just like Michael, you're saying, they're just going to compound. And I mean, I do not see a world in the near future where we take things off of Airbnb. It is, like you said, in the States, it is just like, that's where I go to book my travel most of the time. But it does make you want to focus your energy on it's right now, it's a necessary platform, but what can we do to just lessen that? And it makes you really want to put more effort behind it.
Yeah, I was gonna say exactly what Brandy said. Basically, is like a lot of hosts, what are like, whether they're individual hosts of like one or two units to 50, 100 plus, they're realizing the reliance. Like, I don't know, behind the scenes, I've had many conversations with people. It's like the more and more people get into the space and see changes like this happen with Airbnb or companies like Airbnb, they're realizing like they are not in control of their business at all, to the point where like it's super, like it's becoming more and more conscious in front of mind on the book direct and just building out other relations that are two-sided, not one-sided, where Airbnb is solely focused on the guest, to actually going to providers, whether they're as big or not, to actually make a two-way relationship work in order to take the reliance off of that platform. So it's been very fun to watch.
Yeah, there's a question I love to ask people. And before we move into that, shout out Book Direct Show. This is what the whole topic is in about a month and a half down in Miami. But I love to float this by people. And Brandy, you've probably heard this when we were all down at the event in Miami a couple years ago. But if Airbnb went away tomorrow, what happens to your business?
Oh, it would be pretty devastating immediately, for sure.
Yeah, but what are the steps, right? So like you've got millions of dollars wiped off, right? And then what?
Well, so yeah, I think that in the short term, like tomorrow, pretty devastating in terms of cash flow. But then, I mean, all of those, if it's obviously disappeared from the traveler side, so they're just going to go like, I don't really think the traveler cares at all. And so it's like, okay, Vrbo is still around. And I think Vrbo is more synonymous with like your big single family homes. And so if that's what you're looking for, maybe you go there. Booking.com is becoming more popular. People will go to wherever the inventory is. And so, and then we're on all those platforms. So I think that, I mean, each platform does charge. I mean, everybody's charging commissions. Expedia, I'm pretty sure, is the most expensive. I think it's like 20 to 25%. So that's a lot. But, I don't think there isn't real allegiance. It's not like, people love staying at the Marriott or One Hotels or whatever it is. Like that's way more brand specific. And people aren't, I don't think, saying like I have to stay at a Sonder. They're just going to where I'm going to Nashville. Here's how many people, and whatever site pops up and has the best price, that's what I'm booking. So yeah, immediately for us, cash flow would be pretty sad. And then, it would, correct itself probably very shortly thereafter when people figured out where they could book.
Yeah, or they would probably just find, like, if they had an existing reservation, I would think if Airbnb disappeared and you go to look at the app on your phone and you see it's not there or whatever, there's a notice for every reservation that's ever existed to happen. Immediately, I'm pretty sure they would start looking, okay, like whatever this property is, they would go onto Google and they would probably get refunded. Hopefully, if Airbnb disappeared, they would actually get a refund and then go rebook or try to do something in order to save that stay. I think more or less they wouldn't care about the platform. They would just care about saving the stay out of all things that would happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking not like specifically that, but it's going to be a vacuum for who sucks up the rest, right?
I think it would be booking.com.
You do? Okay.
Well, I guess for my market.
I wonder if something, yeah, true. I wonder if something like that pushes people to a company like D-Travel that's fully decentralized, so that thing like can't happen again, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think anyone on the traveler side, no offense to D-Travel, love you guys, but I don't think any of the travelers really, unless they're into crypto and NFTs and all that other stuff, like I don't think any traveler, like my mom and dad would much rather, like definitely know booking.com. They would not know what the heck to do on D-Travel or any platform like that.
I mean, you can book a stay in fiat on D-Travel as well. It's a listing site, right? But something is going to come in and backfill Airbnb. Like,
sure,
it wouldn't be fully distributed between Booking and Expedia, Vrbo.
Yeah,
it could be the best thing for Hopper, but it could be the chance for professional managers to reset and say, we actually only want to work with professional managers. We don't want to advertise next to single hosts that are helping cause, a lot of issues for trust and reliability. So I don't know. It's a fun little exercise just to think through.
Well, I also would I would love this to be like a turnaround story. I'd love this to be a good character arc for Airbnb. Like I as I've said, I totally understand from the improvements to the guest side of things. It's a lot of PR. And I mean, it's not great for the hosts, a lot of these things, but I understand. It would just be great if they could also be, okay, we're imposing these new rules. I mean, we weren't even told about them. So it's like, here's how, just offering more support, and turning that relationship around so that, it is really a two-sided partnership. Like why anger your suppliers? And like consistently, there's just, so I'm hoping that there is
throw a bone.
That's a bone.
Yeah. I would say that's the biggest difference I've realized from like the hotel world to the short-term rental world. Like when I worked for Marriott, any change that was going to, like whether you're an Autograph Collection, which is independently owned and operated just under the flag, or if you were actually like a Courtyard or a Residence Inn or anything like that, if there was a change in anything, you would get a 6-month notice, and like everyone would be trained on it, and everyone had to sign off that they were trained on it, like understood that the changes were happening and when they were coming and how to like phrase it to guests. Like short-term rentals, we don't get that with anybody. And like from my Michael, I don't even want, I see the look on your face, but like from my side of things, like if you're really I don't know, my mindset's always hospitality, right? So like if you are in the hospitality business, I feel like that is like the proper procedure. Versus like Airbnb, I feel like they just feel like they can get away with it because they have the inventory or because they have the demand. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Airbnb lets you make your own decisions, like guest cancellations during COVID. It's totally up to you, Will.
What?
Yes, sarcasm.
I think
that's the thing is
read the wrong articles.
That's the thing is that you're talking about hospitality companies, and that's not how like these tech platforms, they're marketplaces that are offering the product of connecting hospitality. They are not hospitality brands. And so that like intrinsic nature of hospitality is not there. It's like ease, it's like good user interface, ease of connecting people. You know, that is the primary business. It's not hospitality is just like is the product. So I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes from. And also, you know, they don't really have to. It's like these changes are being made, and what are you going to do about it? You know, it's so
some big consultant probably came in and said, "You're spending too much money on customer service. Cut them all. Make it automated. Make it painful for hosts to even get responses, and that way they won't even reach out anymore. Make the platform completely self-serve, like Amazon. Well, Amazon's not completely self-serve, but Amazon's customer service is actually fantastic.
It is.
I
was going to say that.
Sorry, Amazon. I retract that statement. Like an insurance company where it's just painful to get your money back, right? So that's my guess what happened. Some big consultant, they spent millions of dollars for them to tell them to cut all their customer service people.
Well, I mean, there's, you know, the tech companies are going through, you know, huge cost cuts, hiring freezes, things like that. So, I mean, there are things that I always understand from the business perspective of what they're doing. It's just like, come on, you know, if the same person is still answering this Google form that I'm filling out, like, why did we have to change it?
Yeah, 100%. And I was going to ask, like, on the side of your account manager, like, are they out of a job now because they got replaced by a form? And
he said that he's still answering me. And I was, you know, we're about to migrate. And I was like, literally tomorrow. And I was like, and now like if something, I was like, no, I need you like at the ready in case something goes wrong. And he's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I'm like, don't worry about it. Like,
is the account manager wearing two hats with Hotel Tonight?
They used to be. I don't think he is now. Okay. It used to be that was the case. And we tried Hotel Tonight for a while with a couple of our buildings. Maybe only one of them is still up there. That was you don't get any guest information. So it was just really difficult to operate unless you had a 24/7 front desk.
Yeah, you can't do the screening or send.
You couldn't even talk. You couldn't even reach out to the guest.
No.
So there was nothing.
So you have to have a check-in. You can't do automated keys and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Not helpful for short-term rentals. Cool.
Yeah,
well,
it wasn't helpful for anybody. But
another week.
Yeah, another good one. Well, good stuff. I don't even know where to end it.
I need to do an episode where I don't go on a rant about Airbnb. That can't be my shtick.
Every time Brandy's on, it's all right. What did Airbnb do today? What are we gonna go over?
Give the best what they want, Brandy.
In the moment. In the moment, just like I'll send you guys voice notes next time about my inner monologue.
We'll add it to the audio side of the episode. Like, and here's news from Brandy. Yeah, that's good. Well, there's a lot to cover. I was thinking next week. I don't know what we have scheduled. It's kind of again another crazy week. But happy Monday, happy Labor Day, everybody. If you watched live, thank you for watching live on your day off. And if you're listening to the replay, check out, like, and subscribe, do all the things. And we'll see everybody again next week.